My good friends, welcome. And like any other day, I bring you a guest on a Saturday evening like this one. But I know that most of you, you've been trying to figure out how do you actually be employed, run a business, or maybe two. And if that has been your question, today I've got the answer. But I am not the one who's going to be giving you the answer. I've got someone else that is cool that's been doing exactly this. And we're going to talk to him to actually understand how he is doing it. And hopefully by the end of this show, my friends, you can be able to learn one or two things. By the way, remember here at the TJ Tribe, we are happy for you to come in and watch, but we want you to implement everything else that we talk about here. Don't have to implement all, but at least maybe one a month. Change your life for what it is. My name is TJ. It's great hanging out with you guys. And without wasting time, I'm going to introduce my guest speaker today. And this is a cool brother. I've been journeying with him for a while. But let us hear from him. Grant, how's it going? Welcome.
Hi, TJ. Fine, thanks.
Awesome stuff. So I started working with Grant, or should I say Grant, we started working together. It's barely just above a year now.
Yeah, I think the anniversary was now end of March.
End of March was the anniversary. When I met up with you, you were already employed.
Yep.
You had rose up the ladder.
Correct.
And over and above that, you also had two businesses that you're running.
Yeah.
Side hustles.
Side hustles. Definitely
Right.
side hustles.
And we divorced maybe the one side hustle to actually make it a proper business. And the other one, you made it a business now that now pays you some money.
Correct.
And before it wasn't. And it didn't make sense to me why it wasn't paying you money, but we're going to talk about that. But let's speak to who is Grant. You know, our audience don't know about you. Who is Grant?
Yeah, Grant is a guy born and raised in Port Elizabeth.
Right.
Moved to Johannesburg back in 2006. I am an accountant by profession. Official title is CFO.
Right.
Been doing my thing at work for about 17 years. I think I've been working for the same company for 17 years.
Stability?
Yeah. If you love what you do, you'll stay. I always say I consider myself a fixed asset already.
Right. An accountant, fixed asset in his employment. Right.
Other than that, I'm a father of a 7-year-old.
Right.
He's taking up all the rest of my time. But he is my number one priority in life.
Right.
And yeah, like I said, full-time employed, love the property game, want to grow in the property game. Started a little business with some people that was introduced to me, which became good friends of mine now. Just a little recruitment business. Started getting into it just from a financial advisory type of role.
Yeah.
Ended up being a, active shareholder at the moment. And it's been going well. Started off rough, especially over the COVID period, but 5 years later, it's doing its thing.
Amazing stuff. Let's jump into the family side. You, because I've been working with you, I know that you lost your wife not so long ago. Shortly after we had met. Shortly before we met. Before we met. And now you're a father who is leading a 7-year-old by yourself. Yes, you've got support structure, family and things like that. But when you go to bed, it's just basically you and the 7-year-old.
Correct.
Right. The departure of your wife and you now having to step in to become a mom, a father, basically being everything to your son. What kind of changes do you had to do for you to actually step up into that role? Because for many men, we are distant away from the day-to-day of peanut on bread, simple things like that. And then many a times you've had to come to me, hey TJ, we've got an air fryer now, we are making these. And I'm like, cool on you, brother. But what are the changes there that you had to make?
Yeah, yes, it's tough to just run through all of them. But the simple things, like you said, it's waking up earlier was the number one change I had to make. Normally I would just get up, get done, load him in, gone. Lunch is packed, my lunch is packed, everything is done, he's dressed. So it started with the simple things, and I think over the period of my life, if I don't know what to do, I do the next simplest thing.
Right.
If a challenge is this big, I've always just done the thing I can control.
Yeah.
So it started off with just making lunch. He has a nanny that luckily she lives on prem. She's been there since he's been a baby, so she could step into a form of a mother,
right.
Especially on the day-to-day activities.
Yeah.
So she gets him ready in the morning. She has the conversations with him here and there. So that has really helped. But then, you get down to buying clothes. 7 to 8, 9 to 10. I end up buying the wrong thing so many times, but you learn from your mistakes. So the biggest adjustment is just leading the boy. Then you get to yourself. I think I would have been lost if there was not a son that gives me purpose.
Right.
In doing the day-to-day activities. I always used to spend so many hours at work, and then just all of a sudden, if you are forced to do something, you're now prioritizing something else, but yet work gets done. So yes, painful experience, something we had to deal with. It's something you deal with every day. My son needed to get used to the fact that mom's not around anymore, and now there's an over-reliance on dad, which is also something that you need to manage, because his expectation is that dad has to be doing this and doing that and that. But at the end of the day, dad is working, running businesses. At some extent, I'm even making him part of the property runs on a Saturday. He loves going to South Africa now. He used to hate it.
I think he doesn't have an option. Yeah.
But he's also at that age where we can debate about soccer. And,
right.
The PlayStation keeps him busy, and I start playing here and there. Try to play with him. So, massive change. But before you know it, 3 years has passed, and you've just done it.
Wow.
When you started off, you think, how am I ever going to do this? And one of the biggest things I had to realize is that I am not my wife, and I can't do what my wife used to do. I can't cut strawberries in little shapes. And that I must actually just listen to him as to what he wants. And sometimes you'll find it's the simplest thing, but you're trying to compete at this level, trying to replace his mother, which you would never be able to do in any case.
Grant, I want to bring the conversation of at the time when your wife left. She left for Jesus, and you were in your space as a grown up. You've lost a loved one. How did you learn to console? And I think it's a wrong way to say learn to console yourself, but I'm gonna use that line to say, how did you learn to console yourself whilst you are also helping your son to console himself? Because there is no book that prepares you to do that. It's almost asking the question of how did you lead the household without knowing to lead, and then you've got someone else that you need to lead. The expectation to lead is there. In the moment of you being okay for you to breathe, but you can't go wild in your breathing because you got a little one here to also lead. What was the practical ways that helped you? Because I see a lot of people that lose their loved ones, and for a season they are gone. And when I mean gone, they can't recoup faster. They can't bounce back to life faster. And for you, I'm not saying that you bounce back faster, but when I see you and your son and everything else, it almost sounds like, and when I say it almost sounds like, I can see you're doing life, but you haven't forgotten about your wife. And you're knowing that you're leading life now, knowing that you actually have a purpose to do now, today. So you can't be absent. So what are the practical ways that you did there? Or was it just, you just woke up and you had to do?
Yeah, the thing is, I can't give anyone advice
Right.
on the matter, because at the time I was looking for advice.
Of course.
You start looking at Facebook, there's a group that talks about bereavement. There's YouTube clips that you can go watch. I've done all of them. And no one's story is the same as yours.
Of course.
No one's story is the same as yours. I even did a whole, session that they booked at her work that on our behalf. Thankful for the session, but what a waste of time. I think everybody does their own thing in their own time eventually. Some either get it or some don't. In my case, I had my son, and the promise I made to my wife while saying goodbye that night was this.
Hi there, my friends. I'm very sorry that I have to disturb the amazing conversation that is happening. But I thought, let me just jump in here and give you a little bit of a good word of a service that I utilize, which is called Expello. You might have never heard of them before, but basically what Expello is, all of us who are here, we do property investments. And as and when we do property investments, we have properties that we have and we take insurance on that. And we also have tenants that we've got. And at some point, these tenants tend not to pay. It's a reality in our market. At a national level, they generally say around about 20% of tenants fail to pay. If they fail to pay, what is the recourse? You probably now need to evict them, isn't it? And the cost of evicting anybody, even the going through of that process, can be extremely tedious. And my friends, that's where Expello comes in. I utilize Expello myself in all my properties that I've got. The Expello company, what they basically do is that I said to myself when I was trying to explain this to my wife the other day, and I said to her, babe, Expello to us is the big brother that we pay on a monthly basis, and as and when we ever have a delinquent tenant, a tenant that is not paying, we can always call on Expello, and they will do the eviction for us. We don't need to worry about it. They'll handle all the legal fees. They will do everything in ensuring that this tenant is evicted. So my friends, I just thought that it is unfair of me not to share with you this information. So on the screen right now, it's the details of basically how you can reach out to Expello and you can claim your discount. Well, you might not be able to get the entire link because it's on the screen, but if you have to click in the description of the video, you'll be able to see the same link that is in here that says expello.link/TJ Tribe, and that's to get you your discount. So my friends, don't be caught with your pants down with your tenants and they become delinquent and you fail to evict them. Just go to Expello. But for now, let us go back to that interesting conversation that we were having. Thanks for watching.
That's my number one priority.
Right.
What she wanted him to be or to achieve in life, how we wanted to raise them, was not a secret. We obviously spoke about what we want for our kids. And I can't fail in my attempt or I can't fail in doing what I promised.
Right.
That, and then the second thing was, like I mentioned earlier, is doing the simple thing in that moment. Just the simplest thing in that moment. You wake up, you make the lunch, you take him to school. Simple exercise.
Yeah.
He comes back from school, you collect him, you make dinner, we go through the homework, have a little bit of fun time, wash, dress, there's a day gone. Tomorrow it's the same day. Before you know it,
A year has gone past.
exactly, you've shown yourself that you can actually do this.
Right.
Then you add your hobbies and things that you love. You get lost in that time. And before you know it, another year has gone.
Wow.
So for me, I won't say that there's one particular thing that happened, but for me it was just doing the next simple thing that comes naturally to me. And all of it is guided by, I have to do it because my son he was turning 5 when it happened. He doesn't know to guide himself. He's reliant on me. I can't fail him.
Now that a 16-year-old, he still doesn't know how to guide himself. Yeah.
And you cannot be falling apart when there's somebody as little as that relying on you.
That's true. That's true. You speak of guiding your son, and I want to touch on another point that the aftermath of someone else going is the paperwork. How were you married?
Yeah. In community of property at the time, I would say, stupid is the wrong word, ignorant is the right word.
Right. Your ignorance in getting married?
No, our ignorance in the way we got married. To us it was, we in love, we both have nothing.
Right.
We're gonna grow this thing together.
Right.
Never thinking of potentially one day there will be an exit of one of us or both of us.
Yeah.
My wife was 37 when she passed, which is young. Today's
Very
young.
young.
Very young.
Yeah.
So you always think you have time on your side to fix your errors, to update the will, to put the correct beneficiary on the form of the life policy and the funeral policy and all of those type of things. But then life comes and life teaches you that nothing is certain. We might be here today, we might be gone tomorrow. So, my father always said, don't leave something for tomorrow that you can do today.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Pony, I listened.
Right. So the reason why I asked you how you were married is that I think a lot of us, we get married without knowing that there's many different regimes, and I know God will bless you soon or later to marry again, and I'm sure you won't get married in communal property.
No, no. If there's anything that comes from this podcast, I just hope somebody listens to me.
Right.
Some people would say that you, by not getting married that way, you from the get-go say that this thing is not going to work out.
Oh yeah. I've heard that as well.
That's the thing that goes around.
Yeah.
But there's absolutely no benefit.
I think it's a poor mentality.
Correct.
You do not know that later on you're going to have all of these assets, and how do you guard against them? How do you pass them on to the next family or to the next generation, things like that. So by the time your wife went to see Jesus, you had how many properties at the time?
5 at the time, the one we're living in, and then 4 investment properties.
Right.
All bonded.
Yeah.
And all bought in both our names. Obviously, we married in community of property.
Yeah.
So
And the experience for you there? The aftermath, I
Yeah.
should say.
So that was not a good experience at all. I have to say that. So now you married in community of property. Both your names are on these properties and everything else that comes with it. And now you have a legal person, legal entity, as in a person, that is no longer with us physically,
Right.
but there's still a process to run in order to, I don't want to say delete her off systems, but she still has a tax number that's active. There's bank accounts that's active. There's all these things, and it all now forms part of her estate. Now, because you married in community of property, you're joined by the hip. So everything we had on that day just nearly went into her estate, and I had to go through the process of unwinding this estate.
Right.
So half of everything she had needs to be accounted for now, as well as obviously my half. That being said, you've got 5 properties, all bonded. Your incomes were put together when you did it. Now there's a bank that asks you a question as to what you're going to do with the properties. Because her share needs to be passed on. Whether it's passed on to me, passed on to the next person, it needs to be passed on. So
Right.
now, the legal owner, while it's still bonded, the 2 of us, that one name needs to be removed. And in that process, you now either go to the bank and say, I'm going to take this upon myself to run it complete. But now, affordability, all of those type of things kick in.
Yeah.
So you're
Because you've
forced-
lost the other income now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now you're forced to deal with these 5 properties in a way where she's then removed and her estate is wound up. So you can either buy her portion out, and I know it seems like Chinese money now that it will actually come back to you, but the estate needs to be wound up.
When you're saying, Grant, you need to buy from her, was there physical money? Was there a cost to you, the living? Because I think a lot of people have a misunderstanding of, when there's an estate. The estate can cause, I want to call it, your family can lose money out of the estate, money that could have helped the family to progress going forward. And obviously this is before the education and so on that you had implemented. But was there costs associated now in you having these 5 investments back into the household?
Yes, definitely. Because now obviously we have to wind up her estate, so her portion of these properties needs to be accounted for.
Right.
So I have a son, there's a portion that had to go to my son.
Right.
That portion needed to transfer in cash or assets to him.
Right.
So now I'm sitting here saying, okay, I'll buy all these properties out of her estate, but a portion needs to go to your son.
Yeah.
Now you're looking at registration cost all over again. So that's your first cost, because that transfer needs to be registered again. So now you're going through that entire process, and I mean, what was it, about 3 million worth of assets at that stage. You can just look at the registration cost, the bonds, and all of those type of costs. It's a hell of a cost.
Yeah. That's about half a bar already.
That just goes into that process. You obviously have the option of selling it outright. Selling it to other
Which is
people.
what a lot of people tend to do because they cannot carry this cost.
Correct.
But now if they're selling, they're losing their asset, they're losing the income. Yeah.
And the timing of the sale is also important, because if you're selling at the wrong time,
Yeah.
you're losing what you've built up.
100%. Wow. So whilst we are still talking about that, the business of real estate was also a strong passion for your wife that was gone. How did you then progress into the future now? And also just thinking of it that you're a trained an accountant, and one should sit on the other side and judge you and say, bro, you should have gotten this better because you know already as an accountant that there's so many structures. Why did you buy these things in your name? I think it's good on us for us to judge, but I think a lot of us are already sitting in the same space. I've seen many doctors whose babies are sick, but you know there are doctors outside, so don't judge. Don't judge, right? So Brant, coming back to you, brother. Your wife's passion was real estate. We could almost say that this was also your happier hobby together. What is the now future for her, but which is now the business for you? What's the way forward now?
To continue what we planned.
Right.
We, my wife and I, never really had a whole lot of things that we enjoyed together. Her hobbies and mine always clashed.
Yeah.
What she watches on TV and mine is
Sounds like TJ and Jenna.
She watches Kardashians, I watch sport.
Right.
You know, she loves shopping. I just want to get the first jeans and leave.
Yeah. I'm happy if I get them online.
But the one thing we love doing together, as soon as we have to go and buy tiles, we're up early, there's a plan for the day's breakfast, tiles. And she was always just focused on, you know, she wants to make the house look pretty, all of those type of things. For me, it was looking at the numbers while doing that at the same time. And we loved watching flip or flops. There's a number of them in America that we used to watch together. And that passion didn't go away now that she's not there.
Yeah.
It's still there. It's still there. There's so many things that we said we were going to do. By the time she passed, we had the buy-to-lets. Around about 2020, we sat down and we said, look, these buy-to-lets are boring, man. Let's just do one of these flips. Let's get the capital together. We buy a really nasty place and this is what we are going to do. Even if we just do one every 2 years, even if we just break even,
right?
That's our target. We just want a hobby that both of us love and we'll enjoy doing it together. And I've continued on that path. I don't want to say it's funny, better word is ironic, but in the Bible it says that a good father leaves behind an inheritance for his children's children. I can't exactly remember which section of the Bible, but it says that.
Yeah, they'll go and figure it out.
Yeah.
Most of them are Christians.
it says that.
Yeah.
And there's somewhere else where he talks about the property. You put the two together, that's the path I'm on.
Right. So you're still employed. Have you left your job?
No.
So you're still employed.
No plans of leaving it as well.
Plans of leaving your job. And you're doing real estate now. So at the moment, if anyone is to hear, if anyone hears what you've said up until now, they'll say, hey, real estate is a hobby for this guy. But you have now started making some money in it. And you're doing a couple of strategies.
Yep.
So what are the strategies that you are doing in your real estate
So
investment?
look, like I said, 2020 was the turning point for me. It's prior to my wife's passing. I said this buy-to-let thing is just boring. You buy a place, you rent it out, there's a little bit of maintenance.
Yeah.
And then around about the same time, that's where all my problems started happening with people not paying rent on time. Before that, I really didn't have any issues.
Yeah.
And now you have to look at eviction processes, and people know their rights. They are clever nowadays. So at that time, I said, no man, there's better ways of doing this. There's better ways of doing this, and it is through watching all these videos that you generally make that I realized that I'm missing the beat here completely. I'm from PE, the northern areas, and I was sitting with my cousin's husband one day. He does property as well, and we were debating this whole thing about where to buy your next property. He's from Utrecht, and he bought a couple of properties in, I think it's Rosedale, which is the coloured area around there, and he just continues to build backups. And he has properties in Umut, which is sea facing 200-300 meters away from the beach, and guess which one makes the most money? And then I started looking at this option of counting doors and not properties. What made it quite easy at the time is the amount of people looking for properties. When I went down, obviously drove around, so I started searching for properties that fit this mold of one house, I'm dividing it in two and I'm building two cottages.
Right.
And then I added to it and said, look, you know your typical townhouse that you'll find around here, which you'll buy for 600, 700,000, nice two-bed, has a little dry area. I can create the same in that area where people don't want to move. They just don't have it there. So that's where it started. That's where it started off. Then there was a secondary.
So wait. So you, by the way, Grant is from Johannesburg. But no, by the way, Grant works and stays in Johannesburg from PE. But now you just mentioned that you are looking for opportunities in Port Elizabeth whilst in Johannesburg.
Correct.
How did you navigate that? Because it's a distance, there's lots of things that you need to consider. Granted, you know the area, you grew up in the area, but what was your practical ways of doing that? Because I think I've seen a lot of people that get stuck. They stay in Sandton, they don't know how to look for properties in Sandton.
Nah. So obviously we go home on a regular basis. So the ins and the outs, you still know people, still live there, you still go and visit your family when you are there. And in that you hear where this one's staying, what this one's doing, and you start putting the picture together that people, there's a need for accommodation, good accommodation, not just a roof and some
Not a
bricks.
room.
Exactly.
Yeah.
For good accommodation, because now people are moving out of these areas, living quite far away because they want these things, but they're not finding it in the areas where they are.
Right.
And that's where I made up my mind. And I didn't just look in PE. I started looking in areas around here.
Okay.
PE just appealed for me at the time because the area I was particularly looking in had two options available. So it was the cottages, fancier cottages, if I can put it that way.
Yeah.
As well as the fact that in PE we have two TVET colleges, probably 2 k's away from each other.
Right.
And a university campus, also about 2 k's away from each other.
Right.
So the area I was particularly looking in had a college in walking distance and one that is also walking distance but a little bit further, and with little effort you can get to the universities.
So the college you're making reference is still a TVET?
It's still a TVET, yeah. So
Okay.
the two TVETs is quite close.
Yeah.
So it had that narrative that came with it as well, so I could flip in between all of these things. Then it had an added advantage of the area I was looking in all had on average 860, 900 square meter properties.
Okay.
All
That's a sizable land already.
exactly all
Yeah.
all families, that houses just passed on, and the estate is just never wound up. So there were some good opportunities in the area that I saw in PE. Then there was a second thing that went with it is I need to go home at some stage. Not that I'm going to retire there or anything, but normally when I go home, I live with my in-laws or I live with my sister or like that. And the option of student accommodation helped in a sense that in December when I want to go home, can have my place of my own.
Oh wow.
So I bought my first, bought the one at the beach, 3-bedroom apartment. Little dream come true, from the totally other side of PE.
Yeah.
Now owning a flat 200 meters away from the beach. It was a little achievement.
Right.
Rented out to 5 ladies. They pay and carry the bond and everything. Try my best to break even, and then I can stay there in December. So that was my foray into student accommodation.
Okay.
In PE.
That's a cool strategy.
Yeah.
I mean, basically, someone else is just paying off your bond, and for the time that you need the property, which is basically 3 weeks in a year, at maximum maybe 5, you're staying there for free, and the asset still is appreciating, and the asset is still yours.
Yep.
It's a no-brainer.
If you're in property investment, at some point or the other, you've had to evict someone. And I know, my friends, it is a painful exercise. But I'm here to tell you that for the last couple of years, I've been using a company that is called Expello. Expello, basically what they do is that you pay them a monthly fee, and over and above that, whenever you get a delinquent tenant, they will come and evict that individual free of charge, because obviously you've been paying, right? And over and above that, you don't have to do anything. But guess what? I have managed to organize a good price for you. And the link here that you're seeing, which is called expello.link./TJ Tribe, gets you a great discount from Expello. So my friends, don't be caught with your pants down on your tenant. Just Expello them with Expello. It is TJ. Let's go back to the video.
No brainer at all. As a managing agent, I hardly ever get involved. Just look at receive the money, reconcile it every month, and here and there I'll have a few chats on a monthly basis. Good strategy. It is working out for me, but it's not a money-making one.
Sure.
It is
It's not an
it's
investment.
twofold. Yeah,
It's not a 100% investment. That's not the purpose of it. The purpose of it was that you're needing a home, family home when you go home, but you're not at home all the time. So why don't we make this something and generate some money? That's what you've done here. So it's a great one.
Yep. And then, excuse me. So that one in itself, I said I want to start counting doors.
Right.
Then I realized, but I can count beds.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And that became my strategy going forward. I said, I'm counting doors or I'm counting beds. One of the two.
Right. So on your counting of doors, it's either these properties that you're buying in the older suburbs and you're converting them into cottages, and the beds is you're doing student accommodation and now you're counting the beds.
Correct.
Oh man, amazing.
Correct.
Have you dropped buy-to-lets?
Completely. I've sold 3 of my 4.
Right.
I only have 1 left. That one I picked up for a song and I just kept it for the equity. That's the only reason I have it.
Yeah.
But I've completely moved out of the buy-to-let space. One family in a unit is just not working for me. I know for other people it might, but for me personally, I just don't see the growth. It doesn't excite me at all.
Right. In the last 3, 4, 5 months, we've been talking about a flip.
Yep.
There's a flip that you've been busy with. So I wanted to ask, the dream of doing a flip, has it come to light? I mean, your wife has gone 3 years now, but have you done one? Have you done a couple? Where's that dream?
I think before we get to the one that we've been talking about for a couple of months, so
Yeah.
shortly after my wife's passing, I found a house. I remember the pastor came and did the dedication services. He came when I bought it, and then he came when it was done.
Right.
In his speech, he said, maybe if they gave it to me for free, I would take it. Maybe. Maybe. So that was my first encounter of potentially having something to flip.
Right.
But in going through the motions, I figured out that keeping hold of it, because it fits the counting door strategy, because the house was big enough to slice into two, plus I have an additional 200 squares at the back where I can continue building. So that was the first encounter I had with potentially doing a flip. It ended up, the strategy was going to be counting doors. We started preparing the place, and then I attended an event one evening where they had various speakers on student accommodation, and there was a guy there from Fitz.
Yeah.
I can't remember his name now, but he said something that night that convinced me that leave the doors, go to the beds.
Yeah.
So up until then, TVET colleges, when it came to NEFSA's funding, the students used to get their funds and they would pay the rent. Where universities controlled the whole private accommodation environment, so they would accredit you and they would pay the rental to you every month, not the student. So there's a very formal process for the one that I have that's close to the beach. And the reason why I didn't immediately look at the TVET college is because I don't want to chase a student for rent.
Yeah. I mean, who are you chasing?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But he alluded to the fact that NEFSAs will be taking over this entire process.
Yeah.
Moving away from the university, they would do it directly. And the most important thing he said on the night was that the rental would now be equalized. So TVET student versus a university student, you as a landlord, you get the same amount of money.
This was about a year and a half ago when this information came out. And many people say, it's not practical. And at the time of recording, what Grant is saying is...
It's happened. It's depending, if you look at the media now, it's not working yet.
Right.
But it's happening.
They're in their teething.
Exactly. They're in their teething phase.
Yeah.
I think they took on too much too fast. I think
that's
where the issue lies. They should have just probably focused on TVET and let the universities run for another year.
I also think so.
I think that's where they made the mistake. But you can see where it's going. It's an online process.
It's an Airbnb.
Almost.
That's how I look at it.
Almost there. But now, what it has done is I'm now buying in the township, basically the Kali township in PE. I'm buying a house. I've just been accredited for 10 students at the same rate as at the university on the other side, which is opposite the beachfront. Now you can imagine the price difference.
What's your price tag when you're buying in the townships?
I generally apply the formula of between a million.
No, I mean the market price.
Oh,
in general.
No. Looking at the areas I'm looking at, anywhere between 750, call it 1.3, 1.4.
Oh, wow.
That's in and around the campus now.
Yeah. So with your average 1 million, and you can still turn it around, be compliant, and bingo, you could still make some buck. And you mentioned that houses are generally on just below 1,000 squares. Is that still the same area?
Still the same area.
So you can build on.
There's probably 3 or 4 areas, and 3 of them are more affluent than the particular one. That's where all the old nurses and teachers, the ones that used to have money in the apartment, they built big houses for themselves.
Yeah.
So it's around there. So you're looking at your 1.4 range there, where if you just focus your attention slightly opposite the road.
Would you say PE. Hey, by the way, PE has changed the name, isn't it?
Yeah, I
What is
can't
it
pronounce it. I'm not even gonna try and say Kabecha.
There you go. You just pronounce it.
I'm not even gonna try.
My question was going to be: do you see PE as a student town? Do you think that the economy is driven?
Nah, I don't think it would be a full outright student town.
Yeah.
But I think certain areas within it will become just student areas.
Ah, okay.
You can see it happening. You can really see it happening.
Right. So, brother, you are still employed. You now run this hybrid investment business. You're counting beds, you're counting doors, and you're just growing your investment like that. You got a third business. Second business. So you got a second business. What's the second business about?
So, like I said earlier, a couple of years ago, I got an opportunity just to guide two ladies. We started a recruitment agency.
Yeah.
The company they worked for was about to close.
Right.
All indications were. And they were advised at the time that you've got 17 years, 20 years worth of experience, you've got all the clients.
Yeah.
Just start your own thing. But they didn't know where to start. And that's where I came in. And financially guided this thing through, from taxes to cash flows to making sure that we have sufficient funding and keeping costs as low as possible for a startup. Almost 5 years later, there's only two of us left in the business currently. We have outsourced models where if we can't get to a particular placement, we lead source to other people and they do the same. Back to us, and it's really helped because now you don't have to have the 3-4 extra staff members. Your main thing is to get the deal and to make sure that the people around you can actually fulfill. So, good little business. Doesn't take up a lot of my time. We've grown it to the point where it does what it does. And unlike the property takes a little bit more time. Dealing with students is
Do you self-manage on the student?
currently I have a managing agent in the more formalized structured process that we've had forever. But in the last two houses that I've set up, between my mother and myself, we've tried to do it. Difficult finding a managing agent in the area because nothing formal has existed in the past.
Right.
Hence the reason why we're taking it on ourselves. Students, it takes on its own shape and being.
I can imagine. So let's fast forward now to the property today. The same property that we spoke about.
Yep.
What have you tended to be?
So official handover was on Friday.
This
past Friday. I wasn't there.
Yeah.
It was raining in PE
Was
last
your
week.
was your
My
mom there?
mom's there.
Oh man, you are so blessed to have your mom around doing all
Yep.
of the running around for you.
Yep. And she does not play around with students. That I can tell you.
Or did you convert it into student res?
So now this is started off as 4 units.
Yeah.
It's now 15 bed res.
My man.
Applying official application to NEFSA should go in the next 2 weeks or so. Just waiting for the plans to be approved.
Right.
And it's an as-built thing. The old plans are there. It's just internally we've swapped a couple of
So you
people.
cleaned up the whole place.
Yep, new roof, new plumbing, new electrical, and then just making it nice from there.
My friends, this video was supposed to be coming out sooner than possible, but we'll have to wait for these pictures or videos that he's talking about so that we can add them on for your enjoyment right at the end. 15 students, you said?
50.
50.
No, 50. 15.
15 students. So 15 students that you've got on the property. And An investment of 400,000.
Yep.
Wow. How much in did you put in there?
600, just over 600.
600.
Yep.
So $1 million, you're all in for about $1 million.
And I still have the cottage left at the back.
Man.
That's not done yet.
Is this the same place that had that water issue?
No,
Or is it a different place?
no. The other one around the corner is the one with the water issue.
No, the spring.
Yeah.
Is the other
it's
not
the
this
other
one that
property.
we're talking about.
Other
Okay.
property.
Brother, I'm excited. It sounds like you're running now.
Yeah, no, look, I've added to my, paragraph that you write down, I'm investing in doors, and there's a little thing on TV.
Man. It gives me joy to see where your journey is going.
Oh, sorry, let's not forget about the flip.
Right?
So, 8 months
Yeah.
of driving back and forth.
I didn't know that you're such a breaker, bro. Still want to break some more?
No, you have to. You have to. I don't see this bragging. You know what I see it as?
Yeah.
Somewhere back in my hometown, some boy from Callendale,
Yeah.
Petersdorp, where I'm from,
Yeah.
might see this video.
Oh yeah. This is what we're all about here, inspiring the next person.
Might see this video
Yeah.
and say, you know what, there's a TFED college here around the corner from me.
Yeah.
I didn't know this is the amount they pay. I didn't know I can take, instead of putting a family in my cottage, taking 3 students.
That's it. And we can help them to put food on the table.
Yep.
Right. So the flip that you're currently doing, you've been dancing on the cellar for a while.
Yeah, I'm 95% there. So
Yeah.
I found a guy who lives in the house. He does little maintenance jobs for me. One day I'm just picking him up from, what in the hell went wrong here?
Yeah. Your offer got accepted?
Offer's accepted, but
Right.
we're just waiting for the, it's an estate.
Right.
It's sitting in an estate.
I love those ones.
Yeah, no, those are good ones.
Yeah.
And the lady just needs to be appointed as the
Executor.
executor.
Ah,
And everything moves from there. What makes it so cool is it's about 300-400 meters away from my house.
So you can walk there?
I can walk there.
Oh, nice.
I can walk, but I finally get the opportunity.
My man.
To try my hand at the flip.
You closed this one. It's in a cool neighborhood out in the western side of town. The area generally sells for how much?
Entry level,
Yeah,
1.4.
1.4.
That's a 3-4 bed.
Yeah.
But
On the high side?
19 somethings features inside.
Yeah.
On the high side, depending on this is for the crunch, so depending on how high you go up,
Yeah.
can range anything to up to 3.5-4 million.
Oh, wow.
So this one is somewhere in the middle.
Okay. So you can push it maybe to run about getting to 2 mil, but depending on what you can do on the property.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
You bought it for how much? I mean, you closed it on how much because the estate still needs to wind off and things like that, but their offer has already been accepted. There is no turning back here.
Yeah, look, there's always dealing with the people that I'm dealing with. I don't know how I find these things. It just comes to me.
Yeah.
This is my 3rd property I'm buying out of an estate.
Yeah.
I love them. Oh, how I love them.
You do?
It comes with its own challenges.
Yeah.
But all you need is 1 or 2 of those kids that needs the money.
I don't say that. I don't see it as challenges. I see it as dancing.
Yeah.
Lots of dancing we have to do.
Like I said, you just need 1 or 2 of them that smells the money.
Yeah.
On the beneficiary side, that's all you need.
That's true. And it comes with talking, comes with pitching up, because if you're not there, you don't see these things.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
Grant, we are great advocates of saying people need to read, continuously read, educate themselves. Going out there, getting a degree and all of those nice things, formal education is amazing, but you are missing out on a whole lot of the informal education that's happening these days. And books is one of those things that we advocate for. Is there any book that you're reading of late or something that you can pass on to the next person?
I would say currently, the only thing I'm reading is UCT's property investment, and I'm doing that course now.
Right.
An 8-week course. So that's all I'm reading at the moment.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
I think prior to that, I've been so active in my son, soccer practice, and swimming. And that you hardly get the time to really read everything or to read a full book.
Yeah.
So, and I spend most of my time educating myself on property by taking a deal and just running through it. I know I'm not going to buy it, but I'm just running through it. I would start off by saying it's an oldie but a goodie, and it would sound like a cliche now, but Rich Dad Poor Dad is probably the best book ever written.
It's the God, bro.
For
That book, it changed my life.
I mean, I gave it to my sister and I gave it to the next person. Literally, that's where my property journey, I won't say it started, I own properties by the time I read the book. Yeah. But that gave me a different view.
It gives you a different lens.
How this thing needs to be done.
Yeah. Well, my friends, I did tell you that someone who is here is going to give you the juice on how you can be an employee, how you can run your own business and another business, and Grant has given us everything. You can reach out to Grant in the comments. You will see that in his descriptions. You know, if you want to hang out with him, see how his journey is going, you can do that. But for any other comments, in the comment section, let us know, ask questions. Grant is no stranger to the community. He's here. If there's something else that you wanted to be illustrated, we will always ask him and he will come back to us. Until we see you on the next video. Boom, boom.